So this is my mini Countryman Cooper S, which new to my fleet. Awesome daily, love it, so rad, feels amazing on the road, all that stuff. But I test drove a John Cooper Works recently, and the exhaust on the Cooper Works made me like, I need to have a better exhaust. So I did some research, and I ended up settling on a Dinan axle back, or it's kind of like resonator back, that is valved. And I was surprised I couldn't find a single install video, not one. The PDF is available from Dinan, and there's a video, like a 30-second clip that they put out, which is like blown out audio from like a GoPro or old GoPro, or I don't know how they did it, but it just sounds like garbage. And it's just like techno beated, and they're a great company, but no one's installed their exhaust and done a review of it. The Countryman is pretty, it's not as like supported as some of the other minis, especially the John Cooper Works versions of just a Cooper or a Clubman, those sort of things. So I figured, whatever, I'll do a quick install of this exhaust. It's really simple, I'll warn you ahead of time, but at least you get to hear it before and after and all that stuff. So that's what we're taking off. Really simple system. The resonator is right behind this cat. They have catted downpipes. I have decided at this point to just do the axle back, and if I'm not getting enough of an improvement of exhaust tone, I may cut this resonator off and just put in a straight piece of pipe. I could weld a piece of pipe in there really easily without affecting the downpipe or having to mess with the cat or anything like that. So let's see what we get. So this is what comes in the box. This is your exhaust. The mid pipe, or the pipe that actually connects back to just before that resonator, is right there. You use the stock hangers, which are here. You actually unbolt the hanger mount and bring the whole thing down. And you're gonna reuse this hanger too. There's the other mount there. I'm just gonna cut the exhaust using a tool I have to cut the pipe with a really clean cut. You could do that with a zip wheel, maybe even a Sawzall. I prefer a little bit more precision, so I'm using an exhaust cutting tool that's manual, but you get really clean cuts using these. And that's just how I prefer to do it. So the instructions use these dimples in the stock exhaust as a measuring point. And you're supposed to cut 2 3/4 from this rearmost stock dimple. That's the quote from the actual instructions. So I'm gonna measure that out, and I'm gonna put that tool on there and then go back and forth, and it'll be cut. Then I'm gonna bring over my exhaust jacks, which are over there, and we'll unbolt and lower the whole thing down, and it'll just slide out the back. That's my El Camino, by the way. Like I said, the actual install of the exhaust part is very, very simple. There is like a controller for the valve. There'll be more time spent on that than actually removing the exhaust or any of that stuff. So that's cut, and I have a tool. I'm gonna clean up this edge. They're like little, it's like an exhaust shop tool where you just run it on the inside to clean that edge up. Then there's no frayed edges of metal inside the pipe. That's just something I like to do. So that's loose now. And now we can undo those exhaust hangers. Okay, so this is all disconnected. The hanger mounts disconnected. The exhaust hanger that's just in front of the rear axle on all fours, I guess, yeah, on all fours on the front wheel drive, so you didn't have to deal with this. And then there's a cross brace here that connects one side of the frame to the other. There's a brace that comes along here and to that corner. You got to loosen that one. You don't have to take it out on the long one, and then take out completely this one so that you get some drop, so you can take the exhaust out. And I'm going to take the exhaust out now. The broken collarbone. The reason you have to drop it is just so that there's enough room to get the pipe out because of the jump from the All4 version. In the pipe. There it is. So there you go. There's the old one. We're going to reuse these hangers and the hanger that's still up in the car. There's the cut I made. And like I said, I'm just going to run my tool to get these little burrs and stuff off. But that can come off. These are awesome. Handy tool if you're ever doing exhaust work on like a, or if you ever just have to cut pipe in general. These are awesome. They work with you know, thin gauge pipe really easily. I've cut 3-inch. I've cut all tons of stuff with this. This thing's awesome. Okay. So mid pipe goes on next. And it is, you can see it has a slit open so that you can actually like then compress that pipe onto the smaller diameter pipe that the stock system is made for. And it has the sleeve for doing that. So the mid pipe is on, hangers, all that stuff. It is, I've already put the clamp on but not tightened it because there's going to be a little bit of moving the exhaust back and forth just to get it, you know, clear and clear all the clearances and stuff, right? Like you want to make sure that you're not bumping up against anything, but pretty good. So now, before we put this up in the air, we have to put the valve, the butterfly control on, which is like a solenoid, little solenoid motor that will go on here and turn this open and closed for basically no muffler versus muffler. So I'm gonna do that now. So first you install this cage. It goes on, I flipped the exhaust, sort of stood the exhaust up to make it easier. It has two mounting points, this first one and in the center, but the cage goes on first. So I just ran these two in and then I kind of positioned it here. These two plates kind of overlap and they have a hole in them, in the end of them. And then this limiter kind of bracket goes down on top of that. Then you screw all three together into the pre-existing hole there. Now we're gonna mount the motor, which this is all the motor components. That's your valve motor. And then there's like a little bracket. I think for protecting it or for mounting it on here, it's like a little, almost like a little basket for it to sort of sit in. And then that's going to be for when we tap into the power in the one of the rear trunk lights. And then this spring is what keeps tension on the valve itself. Okay, so the motor is installed. You use these Allen bolts and nuts. The nuts are 10 mil. The Allen bolts were 5 mil for your Allen key. And then there's a little limiter spring that goes in there. And the instructions point out it's really important that the bar be on this side of this bracket because that's how it limits it. And if you look in here, just the way the motor is sitting right now, it's actually a little bit open. Focus. Focus. Anyway, it's open a little bit. So if that were to turn open, it will turn that way. And to close it, that bar will rest against here, if that makes any sense. So once it wants to go fully closed, the the motor will tell it to close, and the bar is that actually stops the motor from pushing any further. And that keeps pressure on that. And then when you want it open, it takes the pressure off and whoop, that'll open up and you get straight through. So that's all done. Focus. It's a very nice looking exhaust, by the way. Like, this is great TIG welding. Stainless. Looks awesome. I'm really curious to hear what it sounds like in normal mode and sport mode with the valve closed. I think it will still be a little poppy, which is awesome. So I'm just going to put those exhaust hangers on, which is going to be a struggle, of course, but then they'll go up into the car. Okay, so it's up. I just rested it on the hanger, or on the exhaust jacks, just sort of down here, and I lined up the hangers, and just once I got that up in position by just sort of spinning one at a time. If you're on the ground, you could have just bench pressed it. I just sort of by finger tightened on those little brackets, and then I got the DeWalt to do the rest. Now, before I did that though, I made sure to slide this exhaust bracket onto this pipe, because this is what actually joins the two, and you can't get it on. Well, you'd have to take this whole thing apart and widen it out. It just would deform it. Like, you want to slide it on so that these two meet up. So yeah, that's what's gonna connect the two pieces together, and I'm rotating them up so that they are easy to get at when we want to tighten them. Now, I'm not tightening it all up yet, because I want to make sure that our offsets and stuff are good. Now, you can sort of see this side's out further than this side right now, and I want to correct that, which is going to be a process, but we'll get there. And actually, it's sitting quite close to the edge here, too. I want to get it back in there, the suitcase back in there further, so I'm going to work on that. These are tightened. I haven't put the tips on yet because I'm going to do that on the ground and adjust them. But you can see, hangers up there, lots of clearance for the valve. That's all still set, and the valve is partially open right now. Once the solenoid turns on, it'll probably close it immediately or open it, whichever. That's all tightened up, and I retightened all the braces. I had to loosen that one, took that one completely out, and loosened that one. All three are retightened. Now is the electronics part. So I got the black tips on mine, by the way. You get polished chrome ones as well. This is the electronics for the whole setup. Comes with the remote and a little signal box. From what I remember reading of the instructions, I have to like pull the wheel well out of the way, but it shouldn't take long. And it's all like basically push or plug and play. I think there's one ground wire or two that you have to put into an existing ground, and then there is this, which is going to go into a power wire that goes into one of the not dome lights, one of the trunk lights inside the cabin. So that's what's next, but I'm going to lower it now to do, first I'm going to do the wheel well part, then I'll lower it for the rest. So you remove that screw, which allows you to kind of pull this back a little bit. But honestly, I don't even know that you need to, because the grommet is right there. Right there. So I don't know that you really need to do that part. So we're gonna have to poke a hole in that and get the wire through. It might actually have a hole in it. Let's see. Or does it pop out? Oh, it just pops out. Come on back. So that answers that question. So the wire is pushed through, the grommet is pushed into place. I'm just letting this rest here. You can always tell which side's the right side, because this is your weather pack connector for the motor. So this is the side that stays outside. And there's another little ground we're gonna have to attach here somewhere. I'm assuming, I don't know, I have to find it. It might be even in the exhaust hanger, but we'll figure that out. Next step, you raise the trunk panel, take the bottom trunk panel out, and open that little hatch, and then you're going to take these clips out all the way along here, all the way over to there, and get yourself one of these. If you have one, awesome. If not, then you can use a screwdriver. Just be very careful. It just helps to pop them out without causing any damage. like so. And they just come flying out. There was a big detail that the instructions left out. It says to take out all those clips, but in my case, I have a cargo tie down that has a little plastic cover over it. You have to take that little cover off, which is right there, that big thing. And then you need a T, I think this is an 8. What size is this? T40. You need a T40 to take that bolt out so that you can actually take the panel out. There, T40. So that wasn't in the instructions. Kind of an important thing because you can't move this panel without that. Now that panel will come out and I can get the wires from inside. Okay, so I reached in there, and when you reach in there, you actually like can see the wheel well, and it has like a felt cover on it. You have to pull the felt cover up to get your hand under it, and then you'll find your wire. And then I fished it through here. That's gonna come in here and connect to the controller, and then we're gonna tap into the power there. Okay, so the wire came up through there. You zip tie it along here. You Velcro the control box there. You connect the other wires that come with it, which are color-coded, red to red, white to white, to the box. I'll still secure these a little bit when I'm done. And then there's a ground wire you have to connect. I can't see anything there. Ground wire you have to connect. I'll get to that. And then there's a power wire. This is what goes to the dome light. So you connect this red wire all the way here, snake it sort of through there into there, and then just send the free end of it. There's a fused box attached to this on the inside. You want to keep access to that in case the fuse ever went. It's right there. Just sort of feed that through to the dome light. The dome light just pops right out. And the kit comes with this little, it's like vampire clip is what I call these. And you want to find, it says in the instructions red and yellow. There's a red wire and there's a red and green wire in my case on the passenger side, and that's what I'm vampiring off of. So you just pop that on there, just push that insulation back a little bit so you have some room and you're not really like pulling on that wire at all. And then you're going to slide this wire into the open end of the vampire clip, this inner part, and then close this with a piece of plier, a pair of pliers, and this clips over and secures it. Get pliers and I'll just do it right in front of you. Okay. So then this wire just goes in here into the connector. Keep some pressure on it to keep it pressed in there. And then you squeeze that little clip into this. That joins the two wires together while keeping the connection that the factory meant intact. So now those wires are connected to each other. They aren't going to come apart. And then that little clip closes like this. And that's it. It's all clicked in. It's all good. You can still access the fuse if you have to. And now I'm going to do the ground and then zip tie these last little bits out of the way that are here onto the trunk wall. Clean up, and then we'll get to test it. So the last thing you do in here is you have to connect the ground to the grounding lug, which is inside the driver's side compartment. You run your black wire, black ground wire, up in through that panel, and there's your grounding lug. Okay, that's it for the wiring. Now I'm going to put all these panels back together. So final step, which I should have done when the car was still on the lift, but that's life, is we're going to put the ground wire onto the exhaust hanger, which is right there. So this ground wire is going to go on that exhaust hanger. That will only take me a second, and then you just plug it in, power on the car, and test the remote. So I started it, and it sounded great. You have to hold for that, but the valve wasn't working. and I immediately was like, okay, something's wrong. There's got to be a connection wrong. So I pulled everything back apart, and I got out my multimeter, and I tested the grounds. The grounds were both fine. And then what it turned out to be is that, again, the kit says find the red and yellow wire for this dome light. That, or whatever, this trunk light. This trunk light has a red and green wire and a red wire. I'm pretty sure that's what the instructions say, is use the red and yellow stripe wire. So I used the yellow and green, or the red and green, not just the solid red. That's what the problem was. I guess the solid red is the 12 volt constant, where the red and green is probably a signal wire, just telling it, when the timer goes off to turn off the interior lights, it tells the circuit to end, or it's a ground wire, something like that. But it's the solid red wire you need to connect to. Now it works great, and you can hear it actually. That's open, that's closed. Open, closed. So yeah, I'm gonna put it all back together again, and we'll get to hear it. It sounds awesome. In the car with my stock exhaust before, you hear the pops every once in a while, but like very faintly. Driving around now with it, even with the valve closed, you hear little ones. And with the valve open, oh, it just sounds so great. I filmed that on Thanksgiving, so it's the next day. And in the morning, I put on the tips. And I think they look good. A little challenging lining them up, only because the clamps are like back behind there, and you got to figure out a way to orient them so that you're not bashing into things. But I got them on. I think they look good. I had toyed with the idea of not putting them on and just leaving it with the stainless, but I decided to run them. I think they look great. Probably take some just like drive-by videos tomorrow and throw those in to the video for you guys too. Why not, right? So that's it. It's got a really nice deep sound, and the pops and all the downshift noises, even they're like quite deep, which is nice. It's not like sharp, like on the V8 in my El Camino, because it is carbureted in the long tube headers and stuff like that. When you are off throttle coming down a hill, it's like bang, really raspy bangs, loud. Whereas this is like softer, but definitely you can hear it. And I went for a rip with my buddy back from town to our house out in the country, and he said he was following me. He's like in an older JDM Legacy wagon, and he was like, he could hear in his car when we were going pretty hard, he could hear my exhaust clear as day inside his cabin. So it's loud from behind. You can definitely hear the downshifts, which is awesome. Yeah, it's just rich, nice, deep, not bubblegummy, it's not ridiculous, and I really like it. And compared to what the John Cooper Works one sounded like to me, the John Cooper Works one sounded a little more crisp, I guess, but not as deep. So they kind of both have their own sound. It's the only way I could really describe it. So anyway, thanks for watching.